Hello, community. We're in the swing of summer, and in recent weeks, it's gotten hot all across the nation. I hope you're staying hydrated and being mindful of the fact that we're still battling an invisible enemy in the form of a pandemic. Do what you need to do to keep yourself healthy and strong because we need each other. Which brings me to the topic of the month, being mindful of ourselves and each other. Recently, I've begun a new series called Real Conversations from the C-Suite, and I'm being intentional about talking with executives from a more personal perspective specific to diversity, inclusion, and belonging. In my work as a C-Suite trusted advisor and board director, I am mindful about how the tone at the top can be perceived differently throughout an organization. So, I am intentional about helping executives reframe diversity conversations from being difficult to different. I do my best to be mindful of the people I talk with and of their role as executives who are people first and leaders of people second. To be fully transparent, this work isn't always easy. As a matter of fact, 5 years ago, when I facilitated my first diversity workshop using materials designed by the client, I was sure that diversity work was not the path for me. For starters, the sessions were held in Nevada during the summer. I'm sure that the heat outside and the heat sometimes generated inside during the sessions didn't help. It may have seemed to the participants that there was just no escaping the heat, either from the sun or from the heated conversations around diversity. While much of the information was helpful and the activities were powerful, there was something in the client's overall approach that didn't sit well with me as the facilitator. I was representing the views and voice of the company, which I discovered over the summer weren't well aligned with who I was and what I believed. I declined invitations to facilitate that type of work for several months while I processed where the disconnect was and how I wanted to show up and represent my own views and respect my own voice. Since my early days in this space, in which I now focus specifically on diversity, inclusion, and belonging, I have found that the work isn't hard, but it is complex. And with the complexity comes great fulfillment every time I successfully demonstrate to a client what my approach to this work is and is not. In my approach to diversity, inclusion, and belonging, it is about real relationships, not race relations. It is about knowing and growing together, not shaming and blaming each other. It is about focusing on change the culture behaviors, not check the box initiatives. I've also begun to ask my clients to consider how they feed their leadership soul. I ask this question because more often than not, at least one person who attends any given workshop of mine always says, "This isn't what I expected. It's about leadership." And my reply is, "You're right. It's about leadership that values everyone." My guest this month, Ms. Deepa Purushothaman, is going to be talking with me about women of color and their similar lived experiences in corporate America at the C-suite level. I don't mind telling you that as I was preparing for our broadcast, I thought deeply about my own experiences in corporate America and how those experiences have shaped me and fostered the cultivation of my voice in the diversity conversation. As a C-suite trusted advisor and board director, my priority is balancing the need to meet my clients where they are with the need to remain true to myself. Striking that balance between the lived experiences I facilitate in the moment during my workshops with my everyday lived experiences as a woman of color is a part of me that you will get some insight into later this month. Sometimes my lived experience involves personally processing the latest hate crime in the news just before facilitating a workshop or conducting an executive coaching call. It's my job to initiate those conversations with the goal of promoting reflective learning and facilitating experiential activities that may cause discomfort, but in a psychologically safe way. Not because I'm trying to make people uncomfortable, but because our shared reality as human beings can be unsettling when we consider the many facets only visible in the vast array of human experiences that we don't think twice about unless it's brought to our attention one way or another. However, if we are willing to become comfortable with the discomfort that comes with raising our awareness in ways that cultivates the ability to be mindful of ourselves and each other, then we're all doing the work as co-learners, not just me as the facilitator. Come back next week for my first conversation with Deepa when we unpack her article published in the March 2022 issue of Forbes magazine that explores the inclusion delusion experienced by many women of color holding court among the C-suite in corporate America. From there, we'll talk about the 3 big ideas from her first book, The First, the Few, the Only, which was recently published and is available on Amazon.com. Finally, we'll wrap up the month by getting the 411 on her Information community, which she co-founded specifically to provide a safe space for C-suite women of color that integrates the power of me and the power of we. This may be one of my most personally insightful and revealing broadcasts yet, so please join me. Until next time, this is Dr. Anita reminding you to stay blessed and keep it real.